world is designed to keep you in a state of perpetual reaction. From the moment you wake up, you are bombarded by the demands of others, the volatility of the markets, and the chaotic noise of a society that profits from your distraction. But there is a silent, ancient advantage that very few people know how to access. It is the ability to remain absolutely still while everyone else is panicking. This is not about relaxation. This is about power. 2,000 years ago, a man who owned half the world, the Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius, sat in a tent on a cold, war-torn frontier. He wasn't looking for a way to escape his responsibilities. He was looking for a way to endure them without losing his soul. He understood a truth that remains the ultimate competitive edge today. Your mind is the only thing in the universe that belongs entirely to you. Everything else, your wealth, your reputation, even the health of your body, is a house built on sand. If you feel exhausted at the end of the day, it isn't because of the work you did. It is because of the mental energy you wasted fighting things you cannot change. Consider the dichotomy of control. It is the most misunderstood secret in history. Most people interpret it as a form of passivity, a way to let go and do nothing. They couldn't be more wrong. The true Stoic is the most disciplined person in the room because they refuse to spend a single drop of energy on the irrelevant. Think of your mind as a high-stakes investment fund. Every worry is a capital expenditure. Every time you stress over a client's reaction, a market dip, or a stranger's opinion, you are making a bad trade. You are giving away your most valuable asset, your focus, for a 0% return. The Stoic secret to a quiet mind is the realization that you are not a victim of your circumstances, but a victim of the judgment you place upon those circumstances. A storm is just a storm. A loss is just a loss. It is your mind that adds the word disaster to the event. And it is that word, that judgment, that keeps you awake at night. Tonight, we are going to re-architect your internal fortress. We are going to strip away the noise and return to the bedrock of your character. In the circles of the elite, there is a concept called emotional fortitude. It is the reason why some leaders can lose a fortune and remain calm, while others lose their peace over a minor inconvenience. The difference is the filter. The filter is a series of questions you must ask every impression that enters your mind. When a thought of fear or anxiety arises, you must confront it like a guard at the gate. You look at the thought and you say, "You are just a shadow. You are not the reality." If the thought concerns the future, the what-ifs of your career or your finances, recognize that the future is a ghost. You cannot fight a ghost. You can only fight the present moment. And in the present moment, you have everything you need to prevail. Let us examine the discipline of desire. Most people are driven by what they lack. They believe that once they reach a certain number in their bank account or achieve a specific title, the noise in their head will finally stop. But desire is a bottomless cup. The more you pour into it, the more it demands. The quiet mind comes from wanting exactly what you have at this very moment. This is amor fati, the love of one's fate. It doesn't mean you stop striving for more. It means you stop making your happiness a hostage to the outcome. You work with intensity. You invest with wisdom. You lead with courage. But you do not let the result define your worth. Imagine the freedom of operating from a place where you no longer need the world to go your way in order to feel successful. That is the ultimate leverage. True wealth is the ability to live entirely on your own terms, internally. It is the realization that nothing is enough for the man to whom enough is too little. We often think that peace is something we find at the end of a long journey, after the work is done. But for the Stoic, peace is the tool we use to do the work. You cannot make a wise financial decision in a state of panic. You cannot lead a family or a business if your mind is a cluttered room. The quiet mind is the foundation of the empire you are building. Without it, the empire will crush you. With it, you are already victorious. Now consider the discipline of action. A quiet mind does not mean an idle hand. Seneca once wrote that luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity. But most people fail to prepare because their minds are too busy rehearsing failure. They spend hours imagining the worst-case scenario of a business deal or a personal conflict. They believe that by worrying, they are preparing. But worry is not preparation. It is a slow poison that paralyzes the soul. The secret to relentless productivity with a silent mind is the reserve clause. When you set out to achieve a goal, you say, "I will do this if nothing prevents me." This small linguistic shift changes everything. It means you are fully committed to the effort, but entirely detached from the obstacles. If the deal falls through, if the investment fails, if the plan changes, your mind remains untouched. You simply adjust your aim and move forward. You are like water flowing around a rock. The rock doesn't stop the river, it only changes its path. In the world of high-level finance and growth, we often talk about risk management, but the greatest risk you will ever face is the risk of losing your internal equilibrium. If your peace of mind is dependent on the green numbers on a screen, you are at the mercy of the world. You are a leaf in the wind. To be truly wealthy is to be self-sufficient in your joy. To know that even if everything was taken away tomorrow, the core of who you are, your reason, your virtue, your inner sanctuary remains intact. Beyond the discipline of action lies the discipline of perception. This is where the battle for your focus is won or lost. Every day, you are surrounded by the opinions of others, colleagues who doubt your vision, competitors who celebrate your setbacks, and a society that measures your value by the noise you make. To the untrained mind, these external voices are like sharp stones thrown into a calm lake, causing endless ripples of anxiety and doubt. But the Stoic mind is not a lake. It is a deep, dark well. You can throw a stone into a well, but the surface remains undisturbed, and the stone simply disappears into the silence. Ask yourself, why do you care so much about the praise of people you do not respect? Why do you allow a stranger's critique to dictate your mood for the entire day? Marcus Aurelius used to remind himself that we all love ourselves more than other people, but we care more about their opinion than our own. This is a profound intellectual bankruptcy. When you allow someone else's words to trouble your mind, you are handing them a weapon and inviting them to use it against you. You are giving them free rent in the one place that should be your private sanctuary. In the world of growth and leadership, you must develop a radical indifference to things that do not contribute to your virtue. If someone speaks ill of you, do not be offended. Simply realize that they are speaking from their own limited perspective, their own fears and their own insecurities. Their words say everything about them and nothing about you. A quiet mind understands that fame is as hollow as a drum, and criticism is as fleeting as a shadow. Neither can add to your worth, and neither can take it away. Think of the most successful individuals you admire. They are not successful because they listen to everyone. They are successful because they had the clarity to tune out the noise. They practiced the art of being deaf to the trivial. This is not arrogance. It is survival. When your mind is quiet, you can hear the signal through the static. You can see the opportunity that everyone else missed because they were too busy arguing about the obstacles. This stillness is your most valuable asset. It allows you to process information without the distortion of ego. It allows you to see people for who they truly are, rather than who they pretend to be. When you stop needing the approval of the world starts to move according to your will. You become the center of gravity in every room you enter, not because you are the loudest, but because you are the most immovable. True power is the ability to walk through a storm of chaos and remain internally at peace. It is the realization that no one can hurt you without your consent. No one can disturb your mind unless you open the gates and let them in. Keep the gates closed. Protect the silence. It is in this silence that your greatest ideas will be born. Now, let us navigate the landscape of failure and the inevitable setbacks of any ambitious life. To the common man, a financial loss or a failed venture is a source of shame and despair. They see it as a permanent stain on their record, but the sovereign mind views failure through a different lens. In the laboratory of life, failure is not an ending. It is simply data. It is a necessary friction that sharpens your edge. Every time a plan falls apart, you are being offered a rare opportunity to test the strength of your internal fortress. Wealth is often lost, not because of the market, but because of the panic that follows the loss. When you lose your equilibrium, you lose your ability to think strategically. You start making decisions based on fear, and fear is the worst advisor in business. The Stoic secret to financial resilience is the practice of premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. It sounds pessimistic to the uninitiated, but for the leader it is the ultimate form of optimism. It means you have already faced the worst-case scenario in your mind. You have stared at the possibility of bankruptcy, betrayal, and loss, and you have realized that even in those moments, your character remains untouched. By rehearsing the loss, you strip it of its power over you. When the storm actually hits, everyone else is running for cover, but you are standing still because you have already been there. You have already survived it 1,000 times in your imagination. This creates a level of psychological safety that allows you to act with precision while others are paralyzed. You must understand that true security does not come from the size of your bank account, but from the realization that you are capable of starting over and winning again. The man who is afraid to lose his wealth is a slave to that wealth. He is constantly on the defensive, playing a game of survival rather than a game of growth. But the man who knows that his value is internal can play the game with a cold, calculated intensity. He can take calculated risks because he knows that his self is not on the table. He knows that gold can be taken, but wisdom is a permanent acquisition. As you move through this landscape, remember that the obstacle is not in your way. The obstacle is the way. Every difficulty you encounter is a training ground for the quiet mind. Do not wish for an easy life. Wish for the strength to endure a difficult one with grace. When you stop complaining about the weight of your responsibilities, the weight becomes lighter. When you stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and start asking, "How can I use this?" you become invincible. This shift in perspective is the difference between a victim and a master. It is the foundation of a life that is not just successful, but profoundly meaningful. You are building something that the world cannot give and therefore cannot take away. Time is the only asset that is truly non-renewable. In the world of finance, we understand that capital can be lost and regained, but a single hour squandered is a theft from your own existence. Seneca, in his profound reflections on the shortness of life, pointed out that we are not given a short life, but we make it short by wasting it. We are frugal with our money, yet we are incredibly wasteful with the one thing for which it is right to be stingy. People allow others to take over their time as if it had no value, forgetting that every minute you spend on something trivial is a minute you will never see again. To have a quiet mind, you must become a brutal gatekeeper of your hours. Most people live as if they are going to live forever, pushing off their deepest work and their most important growth to a future that may never arrive. They live in a state of waiting for the perfect conditions, waiting for more capital, waiting for the right moment to be happy. But the Stoic understands that the only moment you actually possess is the one you are breathing in right now. The past is a closed book. The future is an unwritten myth. The present is the only stage where you can perform. High-level productivity is not about doing more. It is about doing what matters with absolute intensity. It is the ability to sit in a room alone and focus on a single task until it is complete. This sounds simple, but in an age of digital distraction, it is a superpower. Every notification, every minor interruption is a breach of your internal fortress. When you allow your focus to be fragmented, You are living a fragmented life. You are giving away your sovereignty in exchange for a temporary hit of dopamine. True wealth is the luxury of having control over your own time. It is the ability to say no to invitations that do not align with your purpose, and no to opportunities that would clutter your mind. A quiet mind is a spacious mind. It has room for deep thought and strategic vision, because it is not filled with the clutter of busy work. When you realize that your time is limited, you stop arguing with the small people over small things. You stop trying to please everyone. You become focused, direct, and incredibly effective. Think of your life as a candle burning at both ends. The light is beautiful, but it is finite. Instead of fearing the end, use the heat to forge something that will outlast the flame. When you operate from a place of memento mori, remembering that you are mortal, your priorities become crystal clear. The trivialities that used to keep you awake at night vanish. The fear of what others think dissolves. You act with the urgency of a man who knows his time is precious, but with the calmness of a man who knows he is using it well. This is the ultimate paradox of the quiet mind. It is both deeply peaceful and incredibly driven. It is the silence of the storm's eye, where the greatest power resides. The final and most sophisticated pillar of the quiet mind is the discipline of assent. This is the art of controlling your reactions to the images and thoughts that enter your field of awareness. We often believe that our emotions are direct responses to the world, but they are actually responses to our interpretation of the world. Between the event and your reaction, there is a tiny microscopic space. In that space lies your entire freedom. The discipline of assent is the practice of expanding that space until you are no longer a puppet of your impulses, but a master of your judgment. When a crisis hits, a sudden market shift, a broken partnership, or a personal betrayal, your mind will immediately present you with a series of catastrophic narratives. It will tell you that all is lost, that you have failed, or that the future is ruined. These are not facts. They are impressions. The quiet mind does not automatically agree with these impressions. It steps back and examines them with the cold eye of a scientist. It asks, is this impression true? Is it helpful? Does it align with my virtue? If the answer is no, you withhold your assent. You refuse to believe the lie that your mind is telling you. In a moment of stress, in high-stakes environments, the person who can maintain the integrity of their judgment is the one who wins. Most people react instinctively. They see a threat and they panic. They see an opportunity and they become greedy. They are driven by the primitive parts of their brain. But the leader who has mastered the discipline of assent remains a detached observer. They see the same threat, but they do not label it as bad. They see it as a puzzle to be solved, a challenge to be overcome. By refusing to add an emotional label to the event, they keep their cognitive resources fully available for problem solving. This is the secret to what is often called the flow state. It is a state of intense focus where the ego disappears and only the action remains. You cannot reach this state if you are constantly judging yourself, worrying about the outcome, or reacting to every minor distraction. You reach it by clearing the clutter of your own opinions. You stop asking, how am I doing? And you simply do. You stop wondering, what will they think? And you simply create. This internal silence is the ultimate competitive advantage because it allows you to act with a speed and a precision that others cannot match. Remember that your character is the only thing that cannot be taken from you without your consent. You can lose your capital, your status, and your comforts, but as long as you maintain the sovereignty of your judgment, you remain undefeated. You are like a sphere. No matter which way you are thrown, you always land on your feet. The discipline of assent is the tool that keeps the sphere perfectly balanced. It is the realization that while you cannot control the wind, you can always control the set of your sails. True abundance is not a number in a bank account. It is a state of mind. Most people live in a landscape of perceived scarcity, always looking toward the next horizon, believing that satisfaction is a destination they haven't reached yet. This is a trap that keeps the mind in a state of constant agitation. The Stoic understands that the highest form of wealth is the ability to be content with what you have while you are in the pursuit of what you want. This is not the end of ambition. It is the foundation of it. When you operate from a place of enough, you are no longer desperate, and in negotiations, in leadership, and in life, the person who is not desperate always holds the upper hand. Gratitude is the psychological guardrail that prevents ambition from turning into greed. Greed is a sickness of the mind that forces you to live in the future, obsessed with more. But gratitude grounds you in the present, allowing you to appreciate the tools, the mind, and the opportunities you already possess. Think of the empire you have already built, the knowledge you've acquired, the relationships you've forged, the resilience you've developed. If you do not appreciate these things now, you will not appreciate them when they are 10 times larger. A man who is not satisfied with a little will never be satisfied with a lot. This is the secret of the quiet mind. In the face of growth, you treat your current life as a feast, and any further success as a dessert. It is welcome, it is sought after, but it is not necessary for your survival or your happiness. This detachment creates a paradoxical effect. The less you need the world's rewards, the more the world seems to offer them to you. When you stop chasing success like a starving man, you begin to attract it like a magnet. You move with a quiet confidence that others find magnetic and trustworthy. People want to follow a leader who is internally grounded, not one who is constantly shifting with the winds of desire. Practice the art of negative visualization once more, but this time, use it to fuel your gratitude. Imagine that everything you took for granted today, your health, your freedom, your ability to think and create, was suddenly gone. Feel the weight of that loss for a moment. Then, realize that you still have all of it. Every breath you take is a win. Every challenge you face is a privilege, because it means you are still in the game. This realization turns the noise of the day into a symphony. It turns the have to into get to. You don't have to solve this problem. You get to solve it. You don't have to work this hard. You get to build this vision. When you live with this level of clarity, the quiet mind becomes your default state. You are no longer fighting the world. You are dancing with it. You understand that true prosperity is the harmony between your internal state and your external actions. In an era where everyone is obsessed with being seen, there is a profound and hidden wealth in being unnoticed. The modern world encourages a form of digital exhibitionism where success is only considered real if it is broadcasted to a crowd of strangers. But the sovereign mind understands that true power is often invisible. There is a strategic advantage in moving through the world like a ghost, observing everything, but revealing very little. When you do not feel the need to prove your success, you are free to focus entirely on the work itself. You are no longer performing for an audience. You are building for eternity. The Stoic knows that privacy is a form of luxury. To live leithbiosis, to live unnoticed, was an ancient ideal that is more relevant today than ever before. It means finding your satisfaction in the quality of your actions, rather than the quantity of your followers. When you cultivate a quiet mind, you stop seeking the cheap dopamine of social approval. You realize that most people's opinions are formed by prejudice and fleeting emotions. Why would you build the foundation of your happiness on such a volatile substance? By staying under the radar, you protect your focus from the envy and distractions that come with public attention. You can build your empire in the shadows, making moves that your competitors never see coming. Silence is a form of armor. While others are busy explaining their plans and seeking validation for their ideas, you are busy executing. By the time they realize what you have built, you are already 10 steps ahead. This is the ultimate competitive edge, the ability to act without the need for applause. Discretion is also a mark of a refined character. It shows that you are self-sufficient, that you do not need the world to tell you who you are. The man who is constantly talking about his achievements is usually the one who is most unsure of them. But the man who is truly successful is often the most humble, because he knows that his worth is not determined by the noise he makes. He finds peace in the silence of his own accomplishments. He knows that gold shines just as brightly in a dark room as it does in the sun. As you build your vision, cherish the parts of your life that belong only to you. Protect your inner circle, your private thoughts, and your quiet hours. These are the spaces where your character is forged. In the silence of privacy, you can be honest with yourself. You can confront your flaws without the fear of judgment, and you can nurture your dreams without the interference of skeptics. Remember that the tallest trees have the deepest roots, and roots grow in the dark, hidden beneath the surface. Strength is not found in the branches that sway in the wind, but in the silent, invisible foundation that holds everything together. True leadership is not about the volume of your voice, but the weight of your presence. In a world of loud opinions and constant self-promotion, the person who speaks the least often holds the most power. This is the leadership of silence. When your mind is quiet, your words become intentional, direct, and impossible to ignore. You become a stable point in a turning world. People are naturally drawn to those who possess internal order. In times of crisis, they do not look for the person who is yelling. They look for the person who is calm. The Stoic leader understands that you cannot control the actions of your team, your competitors, or your market. You can only influence them through the excellence of your own character. Lead by example, not by decree. If you want those around you to be disciplined, show them what absolute discipline looks like in your own habits. If you want them to be resilient, show them how you handle a setback without a single word of complaint. Your silence in the face of adversity is a more powerful message than any motivational speech. This approach requires you to master the art of listening. Most people listen only to prepare their next response. They are so busy thinking of what to say that they never actually hear what is being said. A quiet mind listens with full intensity. It hears the fears, the hidden motivations, and the unspoken needs of others. This level of perception gives you a massive strategic advantage. You can see the reality of a situation while others are blinded by their own ego. By listening more than you speak, you gather the intelligence necessary to make the right move at the right time. Influence is also about knowing when to step back. The most effective leaders do not micromanage. They empower. They understand that by trying to control every detail, they are only demonstrating their own insecurity. They have the confidence to trust their vision in the people they have chosen to help them build it. This trust creates a culture of autonomy and respect. When you lead from a place of internal peace, you do not need to dominate others to feel powerful. Your power comes from within, and therefore, it does not need to be forced upon the world. As you navigate the complexities of human relationships, remember that your internal sanctuary is your only true refuge. You can be a leader, a mentor, and a visionary, but you must never lose yourself in the roles you play. Keep a part of your mind reserved for the silence. This is where you recharge your strength. This is where you find the clarity to make the difficult decisions that others are afraid to make. In the end, the greatest gift you can give to the world is the example of a mind that is at peace with itself. When you are quiet, you are strong. The final frontier of a quiet mind is the achievement of radical freedom. This is the state where you are no longer a hostage to the outcomes of your life. In the modern world, we are conditioned to be results-oriented. We are told that our success is measured by the final score, the closing price, or the ultimate destination. But the Stoic knows that the outcome is never entirely within your control. You can do everything right. You can work harder than anyone, Invest with absolute precision and plan for every contingency, and the world can still take a turn you didn't expect. If your peace of mind is tied to the result, you are living in a state of constant anxiety. You are a gambler waiting for the dice to stop rolling. But if your peace of mind is tied to the effort, you are free. This is the art of internalizing your goals. Instead of making it your goal to win the deal, make it your goal to perform the negotiation with absolute excellence. Instead of making it your goal to be wealthy, make it your goal to be a person of such high value and discipline that wealth is a natural byproduct. When you shift your focus from the trophy to the performance, the pressure vanishes. This is not a lack of ambition. It is ambition in its purest form. It is the ambition to be a master of yourself rather than a master of circumstances. When you are no longer afraid of a negative outcome, you can act with a level of boldness that others find terrifying. You can speak the truth when others are silent. You can take the risks that others avoid, because you know that even if the external result is a failure, the internal result is a victory. You have maintained your integrity, you have exercised your reason, and you have remained the master of your soul. This radical freedom allows you to enjoy the journey of your life without the weight of expectation. You become like a professional athlete who is so focused on the mechanics of the movement that the score becomes irrelevant until the game is over. You are in the flow. You are present. You are alive. You realize that most of the stress in your life was caused by your mind trying to live in a future that hasn't happened yet. By letting go of the need for things to be a certain way, you allow them to be exactly what they are. This is the secret that the world cannot understand. That true power comes from the ability to walk away from anything that demands your peace of mind as the price of admission. You are the architect of your own experience. No matter what the markets do, no matter what your competitors do, no matter what life throws at you, you have the power to decide what it means. You are free because you have realized that the only person who can truly imprison you is yourself. And today, you have decided to be free. High-level growth is often a process of subtraction rather than addition. We are taught from a young age that to be more, we must do more, own more, and be more things to more people. But the quiet mind understands that complexity is the enemy of execution. To build an empire, whether it is financial, intellectual, or personal, you must become a master of the non-essential. Most of the tasks that fill your day, most of the conversations that drain your energy, and most of the possessions that clutter your space are nothing more than noise. They are barnacles on the hull of your ship, slowing you down and obscuring your path. Strategic simplicity is the ability to identify the 2 or 3 things that actually move the needle and to ignore everything else with a cold, unwavering intensity. This requires a level of courage that most people do not possess. It requires the courage to say no to good opportunities so that you can say yes to the great ones. It requires the courage to be misunderstood by those who mistake your focus for coldness or your silence for a lack of ambition. But the truth is that a focused life is a powerful life. When you diffuse your energy in 1,000 directions, you achieve nothing of substance. When you concentrate it on a single point, you can pierce through any obstacle. Ask yourself throughout the day, is this necessary? Is this thought, this meeting, or this purchase contributing to the person I am becoming? If the answer is not a definitive yes, then it is a distraction. By eliminating the trivial, you create the space for greatness to emerge. You create the silence necessary for deep work and the mental room required for strategic vision. A cluttered mind cannot see the long game. It is too busy reacting to the immediate. But a simple mind is a clear mind. It can see the hidden patterns in the market and the subtle shifts in the landscape that others miss because they are too distracted by the noise. This simplicity also extends to your internal world. Stop overcomplicating your philosophy of life. You do not need 1,000 rules to live well. You only need to be a person of integrity, to act with reason, and to accept the world as it is. When you strip away the layers of mental complexity, you find that the right path is usually the most direct one. You stop playing games with yourself and others. You become honest, efficient, and formidable. You realize that true sophistication is not about being complicated. It is about reaching a level of clarity where the complex becomes simple. As you move forward, remember that your capacity for growth is limited by what you're willing to let go of. Empty your cup so that it can be filled with something better. Clear the brush so that the great trees can grow. In the quiet of a simplified life, you will find a level of power and effectiveness that you never thought possible. We conclude this journey where we began. Within the silent fortress of your own mind, you have explored the disciplines of desire, action, and judgment. You have learned to filter the noise of the world and to find the strategic advantage in stillness. Now, the final step is to integrate this wisdom into the fabric of your daily existence. A quiet mind is not a destination you reach once and for all. It is a state you cultivate with every breath and every decision. It is the practice of returning to your center, time and time again, no matter how hard the world tries to pull you away. Social resilience is the ultimate test of this internal order. We live in a world designed to make you feel inadequate, a world that uses comparison as a tool of control. But the Stoic knows that the only valid comparison is between who you are today and who you were yesterday. When you stop looking sideways at the progress of others, you gain a massive amount of energy to focus on your own path. You realize that everyone is fighting their own invisible battle, and their outward success is often a mask for internal chaos. By maintaining your peace, you become an anomaly, a person who cannot be manipulated by envy or shamed by social expectation. As you move through the coming week, carry this silence with you. When you face a difficult meeting, a volatile market, or a personal challenge, remember that you have an internal sanctuary that no one else can enter. You are the sovereign of that space. You decide what moves you and what remains at the gate. This is the true meaning of wealth, to be so grounded in your own character that the fluctuations of the world are nothing more than distant weather patterns. You are the mountain, and the storms are merely passing clouds. Trust in the work you have done. Trust in the discipline you are building. The results you seek are already in motion, fueled by the clarity of your vision and the steadiness of your hand. You no longer need to rush, because you are already where you need to be. You no longer need to fear, because you have already faced the shadows. The quiet mind is now your greatest ally. It is the voice of reason in a world of madness, and the source of strength in a world of exhaustion. Rest now in the knowledge that you are enough, that you have enough, and that you are becoming the person you were meant to be. The fire is low, the rain has slowed to a whisper, and the world is finally still. In this stillness you are invincible. In this silence you are home. The empire you are building starts here. In the unwavering peace of this moment, carry it with you into the light of tomorrow.